Hello there, folks. This is an attempt to do a broadcasted video all about Project Nomad. No, what does it say? Nomad, mate. Nomad. Just Nomad. What's wrong with? I have difficult at Nomad. Okay, fine. It's Project Nomad from this whack job politician. For some reason, this has got something to do with politics. I have no idea why, really. Now, moving on to this chapter here, what's going on here? Oh, this is just my page with my logos and stuff. All right, yeah, I'm on Patreon. I'm not desperate for money, so if you're struggling, don't go out of your way. But at some point, if you want to back my campaign and all that, it'll be in the Patreon eventually, properly. Thanks to anybody already doing that. Amazing. I'm very very lucky that I have an audience. Thank even a small modest audience. Thank you very much indeed. Meanwhile, let's get back to Project Nomad, all right? Yes, let's get to the point, don't you think? Want to get on to just rather than talk about yourself all the time. Is that all right? Right. So it says, belong everywhere and come home anywhere. I have a very hard time getting that in my head. It was kind of a the tagline for Project Nomad is belong everywhere, come home anywhere. Okay, so in a sense, what nomad is literally like nomads. How nomadic are people? You know what I mean? I need to ask some anthropology people, paleontology people, whatever, um, primatology people to describe to you just how nomadic we are. I feel like a very grounded hobbit. You know what I mean? I don't like to move around unless I absolutely have to. But I have cycled the length of this country, the UK, and it's very temperate and nice and lovely and such. And the thing is that actually cycling has really diversified at the moment. um, Nomad, right, is a way. It's a couple of things. All the things all rolled into once. That's why it's a project. It's a project about becoming nomads. Can we become nomads? Is it healthy to become nomads? Would it be positive to become nomads? Is the climate going to force us all to become nomads? Let's have a think, eh? So we've got the urgency in the climate situation, of course, right? Humble manner of survival, essentially, and the prospect of Scottish winters with no power and all the rest of it, and climate chaos and energy chaos is quite frightening. Mr. Darwin's here, yeah. Mr. Darwin. Welcome, Mr. Darwin. Here he is. Now, Darwin's going to come and tell us that the best thing to do is to get into a little mobile home doofer and just get on the road. That's essentially what I want to do. That's my retirement plan. There you go, buried the lead already on this video. The current plan of our best and brightest, in summary, is hide in a bunker full of DVDs, national food. Look, I'm being silly, but it's not far off it, right? The human becomes a mole, human becomes a snail. Look, a snail better, yeah. Um, Nomadic life, solitude, exile, previously guaranteed death, unless one was a great survivalist. Nowadays, we can get on the road and sustain ourselves in lots of interesting high tech ways, don't you think? Nomad is rebel activity. For the refugee, for the people who are without a fixed abode, and those of us trying to get ready for the Mad Max situations that will be upon us inevitably in the future, all right? So, the nomad is the little vehicle kind of thing, vaguely you see pictured here. This is more of a concept thing that was inside the Canva, did great for it initially. The true shape of the thing is more like a T shape. I've called the most recent design the Mr. T, but we'll come back to that another time. Listen, almost like the design of the vehicle, because that's the thing I got the cease and desist over. Because I'm like, well, not a cease and desist, but a threat of one as such. Ooh, you can't do that. You go, but I want to do that. Well, we'll stop you. We've stopped another person before. We'll stop you as well. Oh my goodness, right? Okay, so I can't do the thing I wanted. I can't design the vehicle I want to design because of what? Because somebody, a foreign corporate power, threatened me that I would receive a legal challenge on some basis. I don't know how legit that threat was, or anything like that, but it certainly gave me an inkling as to what's really going on with the failure in the green sector. And this is what I would call a green. I would call it green fails. There's lots of green fails going around. So this is my green alternative. Nomads, they could make the world better. So kind of create a situation in the world where all humans have the rights of humans, right? So in other words, recognizing stateless people as an asset, as all people are an asset, because you can't create any wealth or any capitalistic benefits. None will come from deceased people and no longer people alive. But you're really worried about competition. You're trying to destroy competition. That's a silly thing to do nowadays because we've learned about the world and we know things about how the world works, resources that we have, that we can live a fairly balanced existence if we cooperate. So making sure nomad people have rights. Excuse me. So the Dunkirk spirit. Oh yes, I'm trying to be a bit triggery here with the pushing the boats back. Now, Nomad originally designed like I'm going to make the amphibious element of Nomad sort of an optional add-on, right? Because actually the nature of the design is such that one could have one that is a purely a land only vehicle, but also one could take one out on nice still water, steady water, and get along fine actually. But we'll discuss that another time. Point is, refugees, people fleeing, homelessness, people on the street. We can now create survivability in a micro form, which technology didn't offer us before. And I'm really into that. I'm kind of obsessed with minimalism. I kind of feel like at the end of my life, anyway, I just want to get into one of these nomads and just cruise off into the sunset, really. The Falling Man Protocol, bit dark that, Ian. Right. Okay, what were you saying? What was going on this day? Trigger warning, acts of mercy. Oh my god. Right. Well, look, really, this is darkness, the moment of darkness here, just to think about the fact that we are facing a kind of don't look up scenario. It is very grim. All of the most grim projections of the future about climate change and climate crisis, I think, are very, very legitimate fears to have. Just as legitimate as all the ones that we used to scare ourselves about nuclear war and fallout and stuff like that. So, really, it's a question of do you want to have a plan or not have a plan? I want to have a plan, all right? More positively, oh yeah, I remember that one. My plan is to give in to aging the way the birds give in to gravity. In other words, just don't give in to aging. Remember that my background is in teaching movement. So tradition, what I should be doing most of the time, to making most of my money, is by teaching people how to move in a way that doesn't cause pain, or how to move in a way that relieves pain, and a way that makes them fitter and healthier and happier. This could be breathing, it could be curling the spine, it could be flexing your hips, it could be an alignment of your knees and your legs, it could be where you place your shoulders when you do certain, whatever the hell, whatever the hell. There's loads and loads of things about movement that we could assess and figure out and teach that. For me personally, right, fighting the aging process as long as possible, keeping active in later life. I really fancy a different type of economy altogether, folks. I've got to be honest with you. Things like I would create a space in the middle of life for a type of pension period, a pensioning period, if you like, where one is free from the work, traditional work and labor force. This applies to men and women to go away and have your babies and start your family. And actually, that would be a really good time to become nomad for a while because you get on a nomad and scoot off. Now, like I'm after like seeing a bit of a taking the heat off the housing market type situation with these amazing vehicles, the ability to cut around the country and enjoy nomad facilities where there are places to park up and like kind of trailer park type vibes, but you actually have like really 5-star luxury glamping accommodation there. Just basically, using facilities that are already available throughout the UK. It's a very temperate and built up place in order to keep people moving around. Moving around, the cool thing is that you get to go places, right? It's just like, why are you moving around? Well, it's because the moving around bit, getting on the road again. It's like a great feeling to just be free and on the road and moving around. I promise you, it's worthwhile. There's no reason why taking kids and working from home and doing duties that are nomad workforce. So nomad is a workforce as well, right? The nomad workforce. It's not like there's no productivity. It's just different types of productivity at different types of your life, right? Instead of picking the same type of productivity for you all your way through your life, a more holistic way would be to spend certain phases of our life performing certain tasks in society. I'm pretty sure that would be more Darwinian anyway. So yeah, I'm rambling. Let's move on. No madness and Limby. Oh, Limby. Limby is literally in my backyardism. Literally in my backyard is a way to turn the whole never in my backyard thing and just be like, yeah, literally in my backyard. So the movement and where you end up and where you actually settle and stuff like that with the nomads would be very easy, really. It would just eliminate some problems that there might appear to be. Oh yeah, this is quite cool. But nomad is on day one. It's a shelter from freezing temperatures, or scorching heat, or dehumidified chamber to escape the wet bulb conditions. So that would be a survival unit in a way, right? Transportation, so the ability to humans to get away from something or go towards something, essential for survival. Utilitarian, it's a storage of your belongings. Secure storage, it's a micro garage for your beloved bike. Oh yeah, so the Nomad, the thing that's unique about the Nomad design versus the other designs is that it's multiple vehicles in one. Really, it is one unit, but it would be, you could potentially have a family unit Nomad, right, which is kind of constructed. I personally work on the basis that every human should have one of these. You know what I mean? That's how I think about it. I think about the future would be that every human kind of has a little Nomad unit, which provides the basics of life, and allows you to move around freely and work and enjoy the world and not be restricted by all the worldly possessions, and actually could still contribute to economies and still be a very valuable part of the world society. Um, there is safe room nomad design here. One had one where it was like just like a fortress of safety and security for the female traveler in particular, but obviously just anybody getting burgled and whatnot. Yeah, so lots there to read as well. Van life. Oh yeah, I did a little cost study on that. So the main thing about the van thing is van life. So it turns out, I won't go into all that quite boring stuff about the costs and whatnot, but the general gist is that van life, this sort of exotic Instagrammable lifestyle, which is what I want to try and brand Nomad as, this kind of and very what would you say? It's an attractive life option. You know what I mean? I'm trying to suggest, look, wouldn't this be cool? Isn't this a cool way to live our lives? Wouldn't it take the heat off all these various other parts of our societal problems? And so I wanted to understand why the van lifestyle wasn't working out for people. What's causing the van life to cave in? And almost always it's because of the van. As far as I could tell, apart from life events, it seemed to be the fact that the van became too old to run. The MOT costs getting it fit to run on the road. Then you've got to pay to park the thing and pay to road tax the thing. Now the thing about the Nomad is completely exempt from all those challenges. Let me repeat myself. Nomad is a product for anyone interested in product design. I'd love to hear from anybody if you want to help me. I'm a complete rookie on this stuff. Nothing really I've ever done before. Apart from the experience of the cycling and the experience of the cargo bike market and the concept and the plan, is like thinking about taking this forward. I think that you have to understand there is definitely a market for this, right? Because it's essentially a way of eliminating, not only eliminating all the problems that have deleted the van life thing, but enhancing quality of life in lots of kind of interesting ways. Full fat off the road lifestyle. Yes, well, it's kind of like looking at it as not. This is not to straw man. This concept would be to say I can't live like that, and say, well, it's not. It's meant to be like a permanent living situation. It could be like I quite fancy it for some of the year, right? Or even like big chunks of the year, or actually really seasons of one's life. Okay, so like your student years, for example, or your retirement years, or as I've said, the years when you're starting your family and you want to hang out with your little ones. Great way to do it. Great way to get them around the world and see the countryside and take in the atmosphere and really develop very healthy bonded families would be to do this. All right, a free away from all other disruptions, really. Parents and kids, and maybe extended family. But like I say, the whole point would be to. I really believe in preserving the family unit for the future. I don't think there's anything more important than healthy families. That would be the parents of whatever gender and whatever kind of proclivity, preferences rather. None of that is of concern. It's more just the developing human that's present there has to receive developing human type experiences, and this would be a great way to do that. Okay, so tech stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, the stovies, not stovies, but the stove. No, the stovies are a weird Scottish thing, but the stove. Yeah, so this thing would have a power plant, right? We'll come to that another day. I'm kind of regretting not going over power plant a bit more actually now that I've clicked on, and we sort of edit in here. Forgive any jumpiness on the recording. It's just to add in that the power plant thing. Understand that I'm a sort of Scottish person. I have done most of my touring and cycling and long distance cycling within the UK. So the moderate temperatures here give us this rather unique opportunity. I think about this as somewhere. I traveled from Land's End to John O'Groats staying at youth hostels, right? And it really just introduced me to this idea of being kind of nomadic and wandering for about a fortnight. And I know that the friend I did it with, despite him having to put up with me whining and complaining and being a complete nightmare the whole time, we did have the time of our lives because some of the time we were lost, some of the time we were kind of just experiencing the beauty of the UK, and it's just a stunning, wonderful little island, really. The thing is, in the winter, it's bloody cold, isn't it? It's wet, it's horrible. And when we're talking about the site, even just the cargo bike side of things too, the bike taxi, not just this project, Project Nomad, but also with the bike taxi cooperative bicycle, that vehicle design, which was also threatened. I mean, just a blanket threat of designing vehicles of this nature was what I kind of had. It wasn't really clear. Kind of making more of it than I need to, but it was a definite barrier to the developmental process. Well, how serious a threat it was and whatever, I don't really know. But the point is, it was like, do you want to develop something cool and interesting that could save the planet and move people around and actually be a really credible product on the market? And this is the thing about these. There are similar products. I want to recommend you to ones, and there are actually loads and loads and loads of garage developers, just like myself, kind of garage nutters, who want to try and build their own thing because they can see that the alignment of technology, vehicles, the urgent need, and also just the exacerbation with consumerism, right? So, although this Project Nomad thing is like, I'm affiliating it with sustainability. I'm affiliating it with the green movement. I'm affiliating it with a kind of youthful, wokey vibe thing. I'm having a hard time to pitch this to a more conservative audience. But believe me, if you are of a more conservative, affluent member of the audience, I want you to see nomad status as a kind of elevated status in the world, right? I'm a little parochial guy. I just want to cut around the UK. But this is a global product and a global thing. Like the vehicle, minimize the vehicle, a survival unit that's towable via bicycles that are near infinite in their tolerance for the conditions that they're in. And also, above all, this is the thing, are genuinely very comfortable to get around in, are genuinely very nice to get around in, are genuinely better than humping great vehicles, Chelsea tractors and whatnots. This thing, what we can do now with technology is amazing, and even just like quite basic stuff, right? Like, I mean, I've spent a lot of time tinkering with the exterior fabric, what we would make the thing of, like, thinking about which parts of a canopy or which parts of a core unit would be made of this, and that's how I came to concluding that Mr. T was the optional design. And we'll talk about Mr. T. Maybe I'll get a Mr. T pitch up here too, because Mr. T is more, it's the chassis for the bike taxi, but it's also exactly the same for the Nomad, right? Because there isn't really, because you're trying to be minimal, there is sort of logical minimal trajectories. Three-wheeled vehicles, for example, have their downsides. Three-wheeling it in general has its downsides, but the two-wheel situation is completely non-viable because it's like riding in a canoe. You just cannot put people in canoes, right? The bike taxi will, and this Nomad will have great stability and sturdiness on pretty much any and all British bike path road, dirt track probably as well. And thus, you have with it equipped with mobile internet, with it equipped with mobile energy generation, with it equipped with a little cozy power plant. Like, you could have a little sauna built onto the thing if you want to just go out there and do the whole sauna bath thing that people are doing now, right? This could be a very premium, stylish product with a lot of lovely technology in it. And I think that the project, for me personally, the word Nomad, a lot of people are using this elsewhere. But Nomad, a lot of people are using it in a way just regarding the vehicle. For me, I'm more trying to put forward a political lifestyle, a political theory of change. Again, how can we get these problems that we have in our society and move them forward in an interesting way? Well, I'm like, this is a really attractive thing to do. This is what I want to do. This is like literally my highly desirable. I don't have a more desirable plan I can come up with than just getting on a bike with the minimal amount of stuff I need and just cruising off into a safe and secure, peaceful world with a clean environment, with non toxic rivers, with animals and birds and things. And that is the wealth that we have to build, isn't it? So Nomad is aspirational, guys. It might feel like, oh, this is some sort of weird cutting away at all the comforts of life and cutting away at luxury and cutting. I mean, I'm a five-star hospitality guy. I love luxury. I love nice things. Just like Mr. Burns says in his wee poem, should you get read that at some point, at the start of a meal, those who can't eat, right? Well, you know what? We have to be mindful of that with our choices, and we have to have moderacy in our indulgences, and but we don't then just never enjoy life. Do you know what I mean? And Nomad is about what's the best way to cast off. I want a big bin, right, of money for all the wealthy, wealthy, wealthy ones that are just hitting the wall and going, I just can't handle consumerism anymore. I can't handle this madness anymore. I don't know why things are all broken. And I want to do something that feels like it makes sense. And I don't want to work for the goddamn man anymore ever again. I want to create an exit strategy from capitalism for the affluent and make it this thing. Make this a desirable exit strategy. Make this an immediate status symbol that when you've chosen a nomad lifestyle, you have given up on all the hateful hacking and burning insanity, the Chelsea tractors, all these things. We will need microtechnology. We will need lots of things. It's not like a complete end to all capitalism. Ooh, ooh, sort of Marxist revolution. No, it's not. It's just another viable option that will delete homelessness completely, will eliminate deaths, I think, because of refugee state. People falling into refugee status or statelessness could be easily provided with a nomad. And they would be guaranteed to have a safe place where they cannot be trafficked away from. They can get in the thing and lock it. Things like a bomb, right? Like a bomb-proof vehicle, right? Not like a bomb, like an actual tank is what I meant to say. Sorry, like you can equip one to be a complete safety cage. Do you know what I mean? Where like even the most worst case scenario of being attacked by bears or a band of lunatics or whatever, the thing can be a defendable fortress. We have near infinite technology now, right? And actually, when you scale things down from the humongous, insane scale of overindulgence and whatnot that we're dealing with in the world, a lot of options become more and more and more viable, not only viable, but desirable. Desirable. I want this to be a 5-star premium product at a certain end, but also be a kind of minimalist survival unit that can be deployed in mass humanitarian crisis situations, like, to be honest, climate change catastrophes. And then people will be mobile, people will have the basics of life, they'll be able to communicate, we'll have some safety from looters and insanity and breakdown of society should it occur, and the loss of fuels to keep warm, the loss of fuel from the fuel market cannot end us. Okay, I mean, fuel independence. You're kidding me. This thing is fuel independent, right? That's the whole damn point. At the end of the day, you can just get on the bike and pedal the thing and charge your battery. If there is absolutely no wind, if there is absolutely no sunlight, right? And there's no wood left to burn, no fuel that you can get your hands on, ethanol or anything, or any kind of fuel provision, and you just are completely stuck. At the end of the day, you can turn the damn thing on and power it up as a gyro and pedal it to juice, and then you can have communication. You can communicate with people. The basics of life can continue, and most importantly, heat the unit a little bit in the freezing cold of the winter, or keep the burning, scorching, terrifying heat out should you be in the opposite conditions. Do you understand? So it's a little life capsule on wheels, isn't it, Nomad? However, I don't want it to feel like a life capsule. I want it to feel like a glamping vehicle, like a kind of, oh yeah, I want one of these things. So beautiful design. I've just used these kind of oldie worldy kind of pictures of mini trailers, what they pop out and all that, because it gets the idea of what the thing would vaguely resemble. However, again, it's a bicycle trailer, right? So the size of the thing is something like 1.5 wide and 2 long, really. Even 2 and a bit long, depending on how. I think the biggest Mr. Tia design is like 3.5 long, but it's still narrow enough, right? So the narrowness, having driven a lot of these vehicles, right? Because I've had a fun time scooting about in some wacky bikes. As far as I know, the biggest cargo bike in existence in the UK and Scotland, or whatever. That was the first one I had a shot of, actually. So I'm comprehensive of the scale we could get to, and I'm comprehensive of the viability of an exit strategy, a strategy of fleeing and surviving in crisis, but also, it'd be nice to go on a little camping holiday, wouldn't it? That makes sense. Okay, that's my introduction. Go back to what I originally did for this, and thanks for listening to it all. You're a legend for taking any of this madness serious. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. It says here, January 2024, completion of basic design specs. Notes on the below. Yeah, that was, I really had at this time last year, had a design and a direct course of strategy where I was going to go with this. And it was around about, I think it was a little bit shortly after that when I got this kind of threat. It's just disappointing. And again, it adds to the idea that we could have many, many green solutions, many, many life improving solutions, but we don't, due to powerful, wealthy interests. I'm afraid people with money power don't want those without money power to get money power and be free and be liberated and enjoy global freedom. I mean, I really want to advocate for complete and total borderless global freedom, a world where there is peace and stability, where there will be an inherent consistency about our laws and how we live together that is evolving already, not through colonization, but just between people just adopting good ideas. And so Nomad, I hope to be like that, one of those ideas. I'm sure there are many, many people designing far superior versions of this than me. And so it gives us this ability to refer to these things as a nomad, I think, right? So as a nomad unit would be a life-preserving vehicle, traditionally powered by somewhat pedaled by human, somewhat electric, with the basics of survival, and generally speaking, right, built in a way that they could last forever, man. Do you know what I mean? Like my bikes I've got now, which they do scare me. I have to try and get them to make enough revenue to keep a hold of them. A lot of people are selling theirs off and all the rest of it. They might become a bit of a novelty because they're not quite the perfect design. But I'll use them and use them and use them as best I can. And the thing is that just having them and showing them off and teaching about their utility and pointing out how useful they are is worthwhile doing it. So to all enthusiasts that are into cargo bikes and cargo biking, bravo to you. Here's my contribution. To some extent, I'm happy for it to be used collaboratively. Certainly the word Nomad, I don't have any right on that. But my Project Nomad, overall, the vehicle is simply a component to it. So look, if there are superior designs and I'm in some position where I get to decide a fleet of these things getting ordered and dispatched or whatever with government money or whatever, that would be a fantasy to just, wow, imagine if we could really, invest in this kind of thing, because it solves a lot of problems for the healthcare sector as well. I want to put forward healthcare sector, care sector solutions with this, and also homelessness solutions, things that could save a huge amount of money overall. And here's just some general notes on pedal power, three-wheel mobile. I think I've covered a lot of this already. Thank you. Or this is design spec and banter. Aha, the potential to build the whole thing from recycled materials is not out of the question. I think some parts will need to be made. There's some aluminium components and all the rest of it. Like if we're going to use stuff that's lying around, I don't know. There's some safety elements. Like again, product design. I'd love to hear from people. Loo toilet. Look again. This should not be some sort of downgrade on quality of life. It should be an upgrade of quality of life. So all the basics of life will be present and available to us on a Nomad. Right, a Nomad will will tick all the boxes for good quality of life, if you know what I mean. Just a word on the paradoxes here. We have a paradox, right? When we're dealing with minimalism, excuse me, and we're also trying to deal with something for the mass market, these two things bump up against each other, right? Because mass market and trying to cater to the mainstream can often involve building product umbrellas, in terms of their specs and what they do and who they cater to, trying to capture a lot of the market, right? Whereas minimalism is trying to cater to a tiny part of the market. So these are fine lines to tread in business. Like for me, for example, when early in Pilates, I was up against, really up against, but just found myself in disagreement with scaling up Pilates into big clubs and big gyms and such, and trying to keep. So I would say a traditional Pilates teacher is probably somebody a bit more boutique like myself, who tries to teach as much independent work from one to one as much as they can, and doesn't do huge numbers of classes and doesn't do huge business turnover and doesn't do the mainstream market. So again, you get that clash, right? You're trying to cater to early in the business, in my business life. I was stuck in other businesses where I was trying to cater to their expectations for their market instead of tailoring my work to the niche that I wanted to target. And I'm still trying to do that. Even now, I'm still trying to do that. Getting that balance is very difficult. Now, with Nomad, the way that I've tried to do that is to suggest, well, we would have a core frame unit, and then you would have upgrade packages. So, in terms of catering to everybody and having universality, but still being minimal, we get products that are made locally on a local scale to perfect spec for the local market. Okay. I think that the evidence is, I don't know if other people in the cycling sector would agree that the market collapse in cycling, all these latest injuries to the market there, seem to be coming about from trying to meet this on a mass production scale. The need for products and constantly wear and tear components that are a huge source of revenue. This whole age of cycling needs to disappear and die, I'm afraid. None of these people are going to fix our problem. They haven't done it yet. They just are completely clueless. Cyclist people are generally quite efficient, geeky people like myself. Well, they quite like things to be just right, not too much, just unless we're eating and binging, obviously, or whatever else getting up to. Abundance is great. You can't have an abundance in life. Don't sort of be miserly and stingy. Minimalism is not miserly and stinginess. Okay, minimalism is getting exactly what that customer, client, voter, person wants, needs. Okay, really meeting the needs. Well, bing. That's nothing important, I wouldn't worry. When it comes to this, though, let's move on there, because that's a wee bit of banter on the sort of balance of this. And the next few pages have some fun examples to look at. Sleeper. Oh, yeah, the sleeper must awaken. Well, thanks for listening, folks. I hope that was enlightening to what Project Nomad is. I think it's a really good investment opportunity. Design work still to be done, but scary with the legal threat and all that. But I think the legal threat implies there's great market value. I think there is, and lots of people are doing similar stuff now in a kind of ragtag way. I think a really good product for the market would be awesome. And thinking about it as ticking all of those boxes, Nomad, Project Nomad. Thanks for listening. Thank you. Bye bye now. Bye.